Today, we cover 2 makeup games played earlier in the week. We also, since there's limited games, we'll look ahead, kind of previewing teams' futures, what they need now, how their season's gone, everything about the Premier League. We look ahead to Matchweek 22 and other makeup fixtures that'll be played next week. This is the Premiership Perusal.
Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! Back, Fuchs, and the ball in behind Damian Vardy! It's 11! It's heaven for Jamie Vardy!
You are an ostrich. Well, your head must be in the sand. Is your head in the sand? Are you flexible enough to get your head in the sand?
Now the fans are shouting every week, Louis van Gaal's army! Louis van Gaal's army!
Feet after a fabulous start, the game just got away from you there.
I have nothing to say.
Nothing to say about the game at all.
Drama from day one! This is the league we want to watch!
We're
going
here.
on?
We're here.
We're live.
We are
Kind of live. I mean, live recorded.
live recorded.
We don't edit this.
We've never done that.
We've never had a single bad take. Never. We hit the
We go
button
back and
just what happens, happens.
You'll swear we said something, you go back to listen to the old episode, it's out. It's out of that episode. Sam
Yeah.
clips the wrong takes.
And you know how much limited editing there was is that last week I forgot to unmute the intro. So there's just like a minute of silence. So if you heard that, I do apologize.
That was for Norwich's season.
Yes, that was a moment of silence for Norwich's season. They're trash. More on them
Later.
but let's get into. We had a whopping 2 games. There were supposed to be 3.
At least, most
then
of
there were
them
2.
played then.
Yes, a vast majority.
Yes.
I went to watch the third game. I was like,
What was it? It was Everton-Leicester?
yeah,
Right.
where'd they go? I'm looking like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction,
Spinning
looking
around.
around like, did I miss
I didn't
something?
even get to update that day that it was canceled. That's why I was
No,
surprised.
I mean, we're just at that point where it's like,
Nope.
okay, it's canceled, whatever.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell anyone. It just
Speaking of not telling anyone,
canceled.
Southampton didn't tell anyone that they're back. To the lineups, you read them off.
For Southampton, Fraser Forster, Lianco, Salisu, Bednarek. In the midfield, Romeo, Ward-Prowse, Perot, Nathan Tella, Diallo. Up front, Redmond and Broja. Got some good and bad. For Brentford, in net, Hank's favorite, Alvaro Fernandez. Back 3, Ayer, Pinnock, and Janssen. Midfield, Norgard, Canos, Baptiste, Janelt, Ruslev. Up front, the dynamic duo that has not been so dynamic
Oof.
lately.
Oof.
Ivan Toney and Brian Mbuemo.
I just want to say I'm David Raya guy, for the record. But
I would
Fernandez has
sure
looked better.
hope so. For the record, I'm a Jonas Lissel kind of guy.
Well, who isn't these days?
Yeah.
This one starts off Southampton doing what Southampton does. Pressure early and often. We got an early goal in this one.
Early goal. And that spells good times for Southampton.
Corner from James Ward-Prowse. Bednarek heads it home.
Shocking defense.
Yeah, that's not good. Good ball by Ward-Prowse, but still not. You can't let Bednarek get in that position. He didn't get much on it, but I mean, he was so close to net, he literally had to just get anything on it.
Inside the 6-yard box. Very poor marking. I mean, really, you just had to stand there and get a little flick on. And that's what he did. So, Southampton take the early lead.
Brentford kind of played a little better after the goal, I thought.
Yeah.
And then it really just opened up for a stretch for like no reason.
Yeah. So 23rd minute, Brentford get the equalizer through Janelt with a beautiful first-time volley. Very nice cross from Mbuemo.
Yeah, a little build-up by Brentford from midfield on that one. and Buemo running up the wing towards the byline and just sending in that cross. Nice little volley by Janelt.
Yeah, pretty disappointing from Southampton after the good start to really let Brentford back into this game.
That's what they do, though. They blow leads.
That's true.
But not this game, technically.
Not this game. And I got to say, something I noticed in this game, not a lot of good spells of possession.
No, it was just, like I said, it was open.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much the whole half.
Each team just taking turns giving away the ball.
And we got another goal. Off the corner. Only cleared to the edge of the box. Diallo.
With the long-range
Your
shot.
guy.
Off the post. Off Fernandez. Technically an own goal, I believe.
I give it to Diallo because he doesn't get many.
Yes, I do too. I thought it was pretty nice.
Brentford's defense, I mean...
Yeah,
just
more poor defense on that one.
They're like, well, we conceded a goal to Bednarak off the header, so we're just going to really stuff the box. And then no one's on the edge of the box once it's like, I guess cleared, but it's more of a poor clearance.
Yeah. And then not to mention the unlucky deflection off the post. And
yes, off the keep, Mr. Fernandez.
Yeah. Hank shed a single
Don't dox me. Don't dox me.
I don't. What are you talking about? Motorcycles?
I did shed a tear. I was like, feels bad.
Hank actually showed up on a Harley. That's why he rides a lot of Harley, so I call him Harley sometimes. Harley Hog 96. So, anyways, halftime, Southampton leading 2-1, deserved.
Yeah, you would say deserved. I mean, they probably had, like, of the non-goal chances, probably had the best chance even, like, right before half two. So
yeah.
I would definitely say that they looked the better side. But Brentford came out, and I wouldn't say they looked better than Southampton, but they at least looked better compared to how they're playing in the first half, early in the second. And then that immediately went out the window about 5 minutes later.
Yeah, exactly. Just all momentum killed by Southampton. Broja hitting on the counter in the 49th minute to make it 3-1.
Yeah, we'll talk about where teams are standing and stuff. And I was doing research, and I didn't realize how bad Southampton were at long balls and just, like, generally playing on the counter. They're not the best. I mean, they only really have the one from earlier. Broja had a goal, but
yeah.
This one was just so bad. When Romeo has to just play it forward pretty much because you have two center backs back, and it's just a foot race.
Yeah.
Not good. No midfield by Brentford.
Yeah, not good. So after that point, you're thinking, okay, Southampton in cruise control on this one. They make some subs. Che Adams coming on. He's been out for a couple weeks.
Yes.
70th minute, shortly after he comes on, he scores, kind of chips Fernandez.
That was a nice finish.
I thought it was poor goalkeeping. It was kind of flapping.
First off, what was poor is the fact that Southampton can just get on the ball near the midline and just send one forward. They just hoof it upfield, and yet Brentford's tracking back, coming forward so slow that Che Adams is still onside, and he gets a one-on-one with the keep.
Yeah.
It's just bad. This game, a lot of it, I thought, came down to Brentford's lack of, I guess you can't call out their effort, but they looked lackadaisical. Southampton, any chance Brentford had that was like reasonably close, it came down to like last-ditch effort defending from Southampton to just deteriorate any chance Brentford had.
Yeah, I thought Brentford looked a lot less sharp than they have in the past couple of games. A few players that stood out to me as being poor. I thought Ayer was pretty bad.
Yeah, he's
had
just
a lot of
back,
giveaways.
though.
Yeah, I figure that's just coming back to match sharpness. He had a rough one. A lot of giveaways. In the midfield, Baptiste, I thought looked poor.
He was useless.
And then Johan Wissa, when he came on, was like a train wreck. So that was a yikes. But Southampton, big victory, scoring 4 goals.
Massive for them.
That's got to be a huge morale boost.
Yeah.
Going into the second half of the season, picking up a nice win like that.
Yeah, I mean, you think that Brentford, after how they played last week, come out, get a win, come from behind victory, and you're like, oh, maybe they'll start picking it up again.
Yeah.
And then they come out and lay a stinker. But as far as Southampton go, up to 11th, I mean, that's pretty good, given the squad's not bad, but I think, as we call him, the Hans, Ralph Hasenhüttl, doing so much with this squad, I think. Definitely excelling outperforming expectations.
Yeah, it is a pretty thin squad. Getting some good performances out of players like Broja. He's been a great loan
Yeah.
for Southampton as well. I thought Perot had a good game.
Yeah, he looks solid going forward.
So it's just kind of nice that they have some guys that they can rotate in, but, you know, not the most deep squad, but they have dependable guys that can come in and, you know, settle in nicely.
Yeah. No, I think that they have some talent, but Hasenhüttl's really making the most out of it, especially with the tactics that he has going right now, making them, you know, they just have a bunch of guys in terms of work rate too, that just allow them to press and play the way they want to. It just feels like it's, you know, the defensive quality isn't always there, and maybe it's a bit of lack of focus in these blown leads, but
yeah.
Yeah.
The one player I thought was not very good for Southampton, Nathan Redmond. I would have liked to see Adam Armstrong out there.
You would have thought that if Southampton, if he told you before the game that they got 4, you'd have thought Redmond had pretty good impact on at least one of them.
Yeah, not the case.
He was nowhere. So
yeah, that's the thing about Southampton. I'd really like to see them get Adam Armstrong involved. I'm buying stock on Adam Armstrong. I feel like he's been pretty underrated.
I mean, a lot of
Obviously
this year's
hasn't been great.
A lot of this year's just been hurt and nagging injuries, and then he comes back too soon, and they play him too much when he does come back. So they just gotta make sure he's 100%, and then work him back in the squad. Because you can't keep going with Nathan Redmond and Theo Walcott. I'm sorry. You just go commit to the youth. Even though Armstrong's not like young, he's still like 25, 26. Redmond's decently old. The Walcott we know is ancient. So
Right. Yeah, I just feel like there's a good player there with Adam Armstrong.
we show that at Celtic. Moving on.
You're thinking of Stuart Armstrong.
Who are you talking about?
Adam Armstrong.
Oh, I this whole time I was thinking.
Yeah, that's why I was confused. I was like, are you talking about Che Adams?
No.
I'm talking about
Adam Armstrong.
Adam Armstrong, yes.
Yeah, I mean, when you pay that much money for him, you kind of have to play him at least a little bit. But I mean, Broja's been so good that it's like it's kind of hard to, you know.
Well, I think they can play together.
You're going 2 strikers?
Well, that's what they were doing. They had 4-4-2 in this one. Redmond up top.
Yeah.
I mean, he was kind of like
He kind of drops back, though.
more of an attacking mid, but I don't know. I still...
Not to mention you're going to have Che Adams out there, who's more, I mean, he's a false 9, kind of 10 role, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I think right now I'd probably lean Broja over Armstrong, but
Well, I would too.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
They got to find a way to get him more involved.
I'd
agree
rather
with that.
I'd rather see Adam Armstrong than Nathan Redmond.
Well, no one wants to see Nathan
Who we
Redmond.
know is not any good, and that's not going to change.
For the record, I want to see Stuart Armstrong out there too.
Absolutely, I do too.
And I think that would fit more. I guess. I don't know. It depends on what Hasenhüttl wants to do, but I feel like that'd be more of a like for like Redmond for Stu Armstrong.
I agree.
Moving on now.
Yeah, that's enough Southampton talk for the next 10 episodes.
I disagree. West Ham, Norwich. To the lineups. Fabianski, Cresswell, Schufall, Dawson, Jop. So it's still that kind of not ideal, not really makeshift, but not ideal. The depth back line. Fornals, Lanzini, Vlasic out there. Bowen, Declan Rice, Mikel Antonio. Norwich, we got Kroll, Aarons, Gibson, Hanley, Williams, Placheta, Rashica's back, Lees-Malou, McLean, Ida, and Pookie.
Oh, Norwich.
This game, it kind of felt early on like, I don't know. I had faith West Ham would win, but it did feel a little bit like where you see West Ham struggle against the lower teams, and you're like, oh boy, come on.
Yeah, there were definitely times in this game where it's like, why is Norwich having this much possession?
Not even that, just like West Ham not taking their chances. Like early on in the second minute, that ball from Lanzini to Bowen.
Yeah.
Obviously Norwich stink giving him that space in between center backs in the box, but I don't know. Stuff like that you just got to capitalize on more, I feel like, if you're West Ham. But they eventually do.
Yeah.
Late on. There's another chance for Bowen early on, taking out both center backs who just could not keep up with Jared Bowen today, to say the least.
Yeah. This game was like through ball mania.
Yeah.
Just getting it through to Jared Bowen and behind in space.
Yeah, and it kind of felt like West Ham would definitely have to, it's kind of what we thought before the game, but they're going to have to generate a goal out of possession in order to make Norwich kind of come out and play that way Norwich have for a little bit, where they try and build out of the back. And then that allows you to counter.
Yeah.
And that does eventually happen. 32nd. No. I guess, the disallowed goal too. What'd you think about that one?
Yeah, that was weird. It really didn't seem like he had an impact on that play.
I thought it was ridiculous that Vlasic got pulled down by Tim Kroll.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand that one. But
I feel like that was one that kind of got ruled out by principle.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have to, otherwise other ones are going to be kind of a gray area. But when you just look at it, it seemed like it should have been a goal.
Yes. But then they do get one right before half. Cross from Cresswell all the way over to Shufal, who crosses it to Bowen, puts it home.
Yeah, Bowen finally gets his goal. Could have had 3 by now.
And to be fair, he's really good, but we know finishing isn't his.
Yeah, if he could step up his finishing just a notch, he would really elevate to be.
He'd be on the England squad for sure. I know people are having calls for it now, and it's like maybe pump the brakes a little bit, but I don't know. If he keeps playing like this, he might have to.
Yeah.
Would you rather have him or Jadon Sancho out there?
I would definitely have Bowen. Yeah.
Halftime then. And then after that, good chance for West Ham again. They just don't take it. Fornals creating the chance for Antonio, who was just taking it to Grant Hanley. Posting him up, turn around. Shot went a little high, but...
Yep. And then Jared Bowen, 57th minute, has a great chance. Another beautiful ball from Fornals. Can't convert.
Yeah, the only real chance at this point, too, in between those two West Ham chances, was like a counter by Norwich, and Pukki put the cross too high. Mm-hmm. That's the only Norwich notes I have up until that point. Other than that their center backs were given way too much space in the middle of the pitch.
Yeah, Norwich had
sitting back.
Had some decent spells of possession, but ultimately they had nothing going forward. They were just like it's been
bad.
this way all season.
Yeah.
Where even if they have good possession, maybe get the ball in a good spot, there's just nothing there.
No.
And there's nothing there. I thought it was pretty disappointing from a West Ham perspective to even allow Norwich that much possession, but I think that's kind of what happens when you don't have Souček out there. You kind of give up some more of the control of the game when you have Lanzini instead.
Yeah.
Who's kind of more offensive firepower, but isn't going to possess the ball.
Yeah, I think you can get away with swapping Souček for Lanzini in this match because Norwich just aren't going to win the ball really in midfield. They don't have any of that. So putting the pressure on Lanzini's they're not going to be doing that. If you're playing like Wolves or someone even like mid-table, I don't think you can get away with it.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I was watching this game.
Because Lanzini can sit there. He's just a playmaker in general, but you can get away with him as a deep line playmaker if it's Norwich. But other teams, no, not so much.
Other teams will exploit that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So 68th minute, Ida has a shot, hit the post. That's kind of the biggest chance for Norwich in the game. And then 83rd minute, Jared Bowen gets his second goal after Masuaku rolls it across the box.
They almost messed up the counterattack. They messed up a few counterattacks in this game.
Yeah.
They almost messed this one up.
Yeah, Masuaku not
taking too long.
Getting rid of the ball.
Pass the ball, man.
Initially ruled offside, but then VAR reviewed, and it was ruled onside. So West Ham pick up the 3 points against Norwich you had to say that
I think the
it's no
best
surprise.
best part of this game was that Yarmolenko, for some reason, got subbed on when they're up 2-0 with like not that much time left.
Need a goal, man.
West Ham, this puts them in the top 4. Nothing in terms of, really being convincing or anything. I mean, they did what they had to do, but as far as Norwich go, there's a little buzz right now about Mr. Dean Smith. I don't get it. I don't know what Norwich would be expecting. I don't know exactly what fans would be expecting.
Don't tell me people want Dean Smith sacked already.
Some people, not many, but there's at least rumblings, and it's like, why?
You suffered through how many weeks of Farka? I mean,
Dean Smith is going to
15
bring you
or
right
so.
back up next year in the championship, so.
Norwich should be lucky they have a guy like Dean Smith.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, they should be.
I mean,
They should be the ones hiring the Republic of Georgia manager, not even Watford. Should
Yeah.
have to sink that low.
yeah, Norwich, I'm sorry. Your club is pretty tragic, and you should never have been in the Premier League in the first place.
Sorry.
Sorry. But also
We
not
still
sorry.
love you, whoever you are, Norwich fans listening.
I do sympathize with you.
It's not in your control.
But when you're saying Dean Smith out, that's where you lose me.
And like I said, it's not that many, but there's still like, it's more, I think, media than like fans and stuff.
Yeah, I suppose.
Which, I mean, fans are more reasonable than media, I feel like, most of the time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, media most of the time just trying to get some clicks.
Yep. After those 2 games, we are here. It's going to be transfer talking points here on the Premiership Perusal podcast.
Yes.
We have 4 talking points that we are going to discuss. We have 5 teams for each point.
That Hank has hand selected.
If you have an issue with it, blame Sam and not me, even though I set it up entirely. Here we go. First prompt. Where you at? Feelings about the team's performances this season. Best/worst aspects of the squad. Grade. Just a general sense, about what we're feeling. First team that just played. We got Brentford. I'm going to break down some just general stuff about them real quick.
Yes.
Best result. Well, results. Win against Arsenal and draw against Liverpool. Worst results.
What about that win against Wolves?
I mean, Arsenal's better than Wolves, though. And Liverpool's better than Wolves.
Well, I would throw it up there.
I was just doing the 2, but worst losses versus Norwich and at Burnley. They were currently sitting 12th. I don't know what they're at now because I did the research Monday. They're 13th now. So, what are we thinking, Sam?
All right. Well, here's what I'm thinking. If you just blindfolded me and threw me into this scenario where Brentford comes up, they're in 13th place, I would say, wow, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
And for most,
Good chunk of the year.
I do think it is, a good achievement for Brentford. It's just,
We've seen how good they can be.
yes, we've seen how good Brentford can be. We got a little spoiled at the start of the season with a good run of form, and they have dropped off from that quite a bit. We saw a couple games the past few weeks where they looked pretty good, had some good energy, but then, they have some absolutely awful games like this past one against Southampton. And it just leaves you wondering, like, I don't really know how good Brentford is.
Yeah. You wonder if the beginning was smoke and mirrors or if what now is just kind of a rough patch. But
Is it going to be like a Sheffield United where the first year they thrive on vibes and then the second year they're absolutely god-awful?
it very well could be. We'll just break down Brentford kind of in general right now. 3rd worst at passing with a play style that kind of suits the 15 to 30 yard intermediate passes up the wing. Low shot creating actions. Rely heavy on set piece and rebounds. Above average in tackling and top 5 in interceptions and tackles. So it's going to be a lot of ball winning, and it's just a matter of getting it up the field and kind of throwing it at the net and hope something works out.
Yeah.
Right now, they're not throwing the ball at the net. to say the least. They're not getting the dynamic offense that Sam was talking about earlier from Tony and Mbeumo. If they're scoring, it's generally, it feels like one of the wingbacks or midfielders somehow, or even a defender off a corner or something. Right now, we don't have a ton of faith in the attack. I think they have to resurrect that more than the defense.
Yeah, I agree.
Personally.
Yeah, there does seem to be quite a disconnect between the midfield and the forwards. You have midfielders who are more ball winners and, not really the best of passers, and you also kind of lack like a real number 10 playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the sacrifice you make for having two strikers. But yeah, the defense has been suspect at times, but overall, I think it's been good enough.
Yes.
It's a lot better than some other teams.
For sure.
In their kind of range.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said earlier, there's a thing with expectations before the year, and then you experience it, and then you're like, what the heck? But at the beginning of the year, you would have taken it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say if I give them a grade right now, it'd be like a B-. I think they've still had a damn good year. I mean, is relegation out of the window of like the realm of possibility? Technically, no, but I couldn't see it. So that's already a success. That meets like the kind of threshold of like a C range, and they're decently above relegation, or I guess near the bottom of the table. They're closer to mid-table, so I'd say it's a pretty damn good season. But I mean, it can keep slipping. They got to get out of this rut.
Yeah, I'd say B- C+ range.
Yeah,
somewhere in between.
Absolutely.
Moving on to the next team.
Yes.
Tottenham Hotspur.
Tottenham. Best result. First game.
First game.
So it's all downhill from there. You beat Man City. Worst result. I went with the United loss. They did not look like an actual Premier League team in that game.
Loss against Arsenal was also quite a...
That was bad too.
Poor moment in their season.
Sitting sixth right now, I believe. Yes, still sixth. What are your thoughts on Tottenham right now? Because this has been such a wacky year with, the managerial merry-go-round. You can't find the right guy, and then you settle on a guy, and then you immediately sack him, and then you bring in a guy that you probably wanted early on, but he won't take the job right away. It's just a goofy year.
Yeah. They're kind of in the same boat as Brentford, as in you don't really know how good they are, because sometimes they're awful and sometimes they're pretty decent.
Yeah.
We've seen kind of both under Conte, which is really what I'm grading off of. I think that first part of the season with Nuno is kind of like null and void. I mean, it happened, but it's in the past, and now it's kind of a new era. That's what Tottenham is hoping, at least, that this is going to be something that lasts at least, a few seasons.
So you're more optimistic. I have to hold that against them. You hired a manager. You can't go in the year thinking, well, this guy will last us through November.
Well, I agree with that, but I'm just saying, I feel like we all knew that was coming in the first place.
Yeah.
So.
But, I don't think Tottenham did.
Well, I mean, Daniel Levy's an idiot, so.
If we're talking about certain aspects of the team, they're just not prolific on attack like one would think.
No.
An example being they're very high in shots on target %, but their goals per shot on target is bottom 5. Think how hard that is. Think how many bad teams are in attack. They're almost -7 in expected goals. If that stat does anything for you, it doesn't. I'm going to explain one reason why that stat does nothing for me anymore. And they just they have to be stable at the back and midfield, or they're just left open and exposed. So they just kind of, middle of the pack for defensive categories because they're never really in threat. But they're low in goal creations allowed and stuff. I mean, it's, the defense is good, but at the same time, it's like they have to adapt to that defense so much. That's what if that is the weakest part, but maybe it's not the weakest component of the team. And it's they're asking so much out of the attack to create by themselves that's why it's not efficient. It's such a strange team.
Yeah, I think they rely too much on Son and Kane, and obviously Kane has been pretty poor this season.
Yes.
Son hasn't had his best season either. I think where they really could use an improvement is kind of like a secondary playmaker that can help those guys excel and, really find some form. You look at the team, like Bergwijn,
Going to be sold.
he's gone. Your best option, is probably like Lucas Moura, and at times he's been decent.
He's been pretty good lately.
Yeah.
But you can't always count on Lucas Moura.
Right. They really need someone to come in. Like, that's probably what they thought that Bergwijn was going to be.
Yeah.
But it just never really panned out. And then, like you said, they're pretty dependent on playing like a certain style where they have to sit back and hit on the counter.
Yeah.
Just because their defense and midfield is so poor that you can't really afford to play a real possession-based game.
Yeah. I mean, they have the least amount of defensive errors leading to a goal, yet they've allowed like the second most dribbles that have led to a goal. So it's like they protect them to the point where it's like they're very conservative. They have their system. They don't want them to get exposed. But when they do get exposed, they're kind of left on an island, it's going to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like the most important component of their team right now, unironically, is somehow the midfield between Skip and Højbjerg, because I felt for a while when it was just Højbjerg out there with no one really helping him, and Ndombele and stuff, it's like there's no link between the attack and the defense, and it's like the way they have the attack playing isn't good, and the defense, like we said, they have to support it so much, so I feel like the midfield's like their best aspect, given how it's set up. It has to be.
Yeah, I think they are set up to play the way that they should, and the way that their squad kind of dictates that they should be playing. I think just given the players that they have, that system is the best option available.
Yes. Grade for the year?
Grade, I would say
B-?
I'd say C+.
Okay.
It's got the possibility of turning into like a
Maybe fourth?
A- if you somehow squeak out a fourth.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that would just be a miracle. That'd be like you're going into the class on like a B-, and then the final just comes through like 97% and you get it all the way up there.
Yeah. It would really just seem like it'd be undeserving, but, if they grind out their way to fourth, then so be it.
Yes. Moving on. Villa. Best result. Win at United. Worst. I couldn't tell if it was the opening match against Watford or if it was the blown 2-0 lead against Wolves.
Yeah, both those were pretty awful. I felt like maybe the Watford one was worse because
it's like Watford stink and they gave up that loss, but at the same time, like they had a 2-goal lead with like 15, 20 minutes left and they blew it.
Yeah.
So, but sitting, where are they right now? 14th. Not ideal for them. But what are we looking at as far as their components of their squad that you like and don't really like?
Components of their squad that I like their center backs that they have. I think they're solid. Martinez is solid. I guess all around defensively, they should be pretty good. Cash and Target as fullbacks, and now they're bringing in Digne. I think that's probably the strongest suit of their game.
Yeah.
But has at times been poor for no reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, to say the least, their defense has been below average at times and had ups and downs, especially towards the end of the Dean Smith era.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look, they've conceded the third most carries in the penalty area. That's not good. That's not good when teams can just dribble right into your box.
And I do think it has something to do with the fact that
they have two
Cash and
midfield.
Target play, advanced roles, and then they have not really a ball-winning midfielder ever.
Nah. McGinn can.
He can, but he's not like a pure 6.
No.
He's more of an 8.
8. Yeah, Douglas Luiz ideally is probably their 6th, and sometimes he's just not on. I don't really rate him as much as other people do, but
I guess I still see him more as like an 8.
I feel like he's a 6/8, probably more of a 6. But regardless, their defense has been so up and down this year. But so is their attack. I mean, their attack has had moments of brilliance, but just not enough consistency. They're low in shot creating actions, but middle of the pack for like goal creating actions. So they're kind of efficient in terms of, turning the chances they do get into goals. But I don't know. I just feel like there is kind of a overlying sense on Ollie Watkins in terms of goal production. Ings has kind of came back a little now into the mix. That'll get you some goals, but I mean, Buendia hasn't been quite as good as you would have hoped. Leon Bailey was looking good, and then he got hurt, and now it's, we don't really know what's going on there. They're selling El Ghazi. It's kind of just a strange, you kind of had to patch it together when you sold Grealish this late, and it's not looking ideal right now, to say the least.
Yeah, with the Grealish money, they just kind of threw money at different guys. It didn't really seem like they had much of a plan, and now that's kind of showing because you're not really getting the full effect of most of those players. Your offense doesn't look that great.
No, it feels like your best in attack is when the fullbacks are up and they're whipping balls into the box is when it generally feels, or sometimes you'll spring a counter, and that's when you're feeling good. But in terms of build up through possession, it hasn't been that great this year. At moments, I feel like it's looked better under Gerrard than Dean Smith, but I mean, and that too, not to mention going through a managerial change halfway through the year. So what are we looking at for a grade on Villa?
I would say B.
B?
Yeah.
I'd probably go B- again. There's a lot of B- being handed out today. A lot of 81% in this class.
I think considering the fact that they lost Jack Grealish and they had some rough moments, but they've steadied the ship, I think that's a good sign.
That's fair. Moving on, other claret and blue team, West Ham United. Best results, win against Chelsea and Liverpool. Worst results, lost to Brentford and Southampton. Sitting 4th right now. What do we like about this team, Sam, so far?
Well, they have some real quality all over the pitch, from back to front. Fabianski's great. They've had some great center back play, fullback play, midfield play. Declan Rice has been phenomenal. Attack. Antonio, great start to the season. Jared Bowen's really come into his own. Benrahma has had his moments. Fornals, Lanzini.
Yeah, getting Lanzini back was massive.
A lot of positives.
Nothing last year
to say about West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be the attack. I mean, you'd put them as probably a top 4 attacking side in the Premier League, even maybe top 3. Just, the efficiency isn't always there. It feels like they have so many chances that, they're second in shots on target per game and third in goal creating actions per game. So, I mean, they're always going to have chances, no matter. And the one thing that really makes a difference is no matter what style the other team's playing, Moyes can adapt to make sure they're still getting a bunch of chances. Still effective at dead ball scenarios, just like last year. They were the best. This year, I don't think they're quite the best, but they're near the top. I think for me, it's the defense this year. And part of that's just injuries, not having their leader in Ogbonna and stuff. But, their defense is just shaky. But, I mean, that's what it's going to be when you're relying on your 3rd and 4th center backs.
Yeah, especially now. It's gotten to a point where it's pretty shaky. To be fair, I think it's pretty good for, like, how far the depth chart they are.
Yeah.
Before those injuries, they were pretty solid.
Yeah, they were keeping a good amount of clean sheets.
Yeah, the thing about West Ham is they have played really well, but they do have these moments where they just kind of falter. And like you said, the losses against Brentford and Southampton. And then on the other hand, you have wins against Chelsea and Liverpool.
Yep. They show up for the big games.
So definitely a great season so far for West Ham, but it's just proof that they're not completely there to be a solid top 4 team. You know, they still have those moments where they falter.
I'd give them a B+ still, because I figured there'd be a bigger drop-off this year. I'd figured they'd be a little above where, like, Leicester is right now. They'd be in, like, that 8th range, kind of where, like, Wolves and Brighton are, but...
I give them an A.
An A?
Yeah.
That's fair. Moving on, one more team, last team for this category.
Also claret and blue.
Yeah, this was really the claret and blue group. Burnley.
They're not getting an A.
Best results, win against Brentford and a draw with West Ham. Worst result, lost to Newcastle and lost to Brighton early on. The only reason, and you'd say, oh, well, Brighton's a good team. They were up 1-0 and blew a lead. They gave up 2 goals in about like 5-10 minutes towards the end.
Yeah.
And that's the first game. Pretty rough way to start your year.
Right.
Kind of set the tone.
It's about as rough as Hank dropping the phone.
18th right now. Best and worst components, Sam.
What is the best thing about Burnley? Sean Dyche, I would say.
Absolutely.
That time when he went out in the snow with just his regular shirt on and no jacket. Worst, everything. No, best, I gotta say Cornier.
Yeah.
He's fantastic whenever he plays. Worst, everyone else in attack, their midfield, their defense has been pretty awful.
Yeah,
Their fullbacks have been decent.
Yeah. I mean, you know Burnley by now. They block, and they block well. So they still have that going in terms of their defense. And like you said, their fullbacks can get forward in terms of swinging balls in and stuff. And, I mean, Cornier is one of the better attackers in the Premier League already.
Yeah.
For me, it's that midfield. It's just non-existent. I don't know. Jack Cork, are you kidding me?
The unwillingness to upgrade in the transfer window on your midfield, you're just asking to go down with that midfield.
They're the worst team at creating chances off live passes. Would you believe that?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the only way they really score is off set pieces. They don't even get like the random, they'll get an interception and kind of just have a mini counterattack. They don't even get those this year.
They had that one game against Brentford, and that was it.
Yeah.
Every other game, they've looked pretty awful.
Yeah, I mean, high in shot creation actions conceded, but middle of the pack as far as goal creating actions. So, like, their defense is just holding it together. It's bend, don't break. But, I mean, you're asking a lot out of that defense to make sure that they're keeping these clean sheets and stuff when they're not nearly as good as they have been in the past.
Yeah.
Not to mention there's nothing in attack, so you're just holding on for dear life.
Yeah, I think Tarkovsky has been poor this year as well.
Just know they're last in tackles in the midfield.
Their midfield is pretty bad.
Oh, well, if you had to give them a grade...
F for failure, because they're failures.
I'll give them a D- now because I like their chances of staying up more than Newcastle, given what Newcastle are right now. If Newcastle bring in a couple more guys, it might just have to be an F. Anyone that goes down, it's an F, obviously. So
yeah.
But Burnley, I'll cut you some slack here. All right, next topic: needs/solutions for these teams. We're going to name 5 teams. We're going to talk a little about their play style, but mainly what is a glaring hole that's missing in this team. First team, Southampton. Sam said no more Southampton talk. Well, here we are.
Here we are with some more Southampton talk. One need, I would say, incorporate the Armstrongs. Incorporate
Louis
Jay
Armstrong.
Adams. Yeah, throw in Louis Armstrong, too. Get some trumpet action. They could use it. Yeah, their midfield isn't great, but I guess it works good enough.
Here's some things to know about Southampton. They're the worst long ball team. their best long ball player, passer this year by percent, under, I think it was under 33%, or Oriol Romeu. That's not good. Most defensive actions leading to a shot. Okay. So we like their defense. We like how they're able to kind of, hold strong and then kind of push forward, especially early on in games. They're decent in terms of attack, which is really all you can ask for out of this team. Good at getting to second and third ball, so you have good ball winners. It's just really the conversion rate is poor. We haven't even talked. There's strange goalie rotation.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that.
They're trying to have like the most crap goalkeepers ever in a season.
Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to Caballero, but he's like 40 years old.
Yes, he is. For my main needs, I was thinking maybe a 10. But, I mean, Shea Adams kind of is that. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Maybe a guy who's an 8, but a little more attack-minded.
Yeah.
Just a better James
I don't know. I feel like when they have all their guys fit, they're pretty good. But, yeah, the midfield.
Goalkeeper. Definitely what I have as a main target. I thought, like, if you're getting into, lavish, luxurious needs of a team like Southampton, maybe like a deep-lying playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way, I don't know what wages he's on, but, you're talking about Xhaka leaving Arsenal. Is there any way?
No, not to Southampton. No.
Damn it.
I would expect him to go to
probably Germany or something. Or
Germany or Italy.
Yeah.
I think Italy would suit his game better.
Center back, maybe in the summer, not right now, but I think they could maybe use another one. Bednarak and Salisu have been fine.
Yeah.
Salisu's definitely had better moments, I'd say, than Bednarak at like the highest point, but they still don't have a ton of depth, and they haven't really been struck by the injury bug that much.
Yeah.
As far as defense goes.
I think something they'll need to be doing is freshening up the squad. I mean, you got to get rid of guys like Walcott and Redmond.
Yes.
And
push with the youth movement with Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Moving on, Liverpool. Liverpool. Quick build-up. Darting runs in behind up the wing. Hold possession through the fullbacks. Just the best pressers that they are. Not the most efficient at tackling. I mean, that's just kind of where the midfield's at, though. But force the most defensive errors that lead to a goal. Defense and midfield depth, definitely questionable. What are we looking at for Liverpool, Sam?
Yeah, I think something that has stood out to me is that Konate, right? He's the one that plays for Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Konate. I think he's been pretty poor.
Yeah.
And it's quite a drop-off when they go from Van Dijk and Matip to having Konate in there.
Yes.
So that's an issue. Midfield, they've been pretty thin, but somehow they've managed to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been the best at times, but it's better than expected, I would say.
Okay.
Other than that, I would...
Because a lot of their depth just comes from youth guys, but at the same time, it's like they're just pulling these guys out of their butts. How long can you do that?
It's hard to say, like, in terms of, like, bring in another attacking player, but...
I had for one of their main needs as a center back in the summer. I don't think you can do it right now if you just got Konate. You just kind of ride out the year with Matip. I mean, how long can you... Matip's like 33, isn't he? He's an old guy.
Yeah.
I don't know how long you can count on him to be your number 2 center back, so I think that is something they might have to look at. I'd say the main guy they should be looking at is probably an 8 or maybe a 6. And I think one guy in particular, they go back to the well at Wolves. They got Jota from him. Maybe get Neves.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting idea. I don't know if he would really fit all that great, the high-intensity style of Liverpool versus the more laid-back style of Wolves, but he definitely has the quality to be playing in that team.
He wouldn't be what you had with Wijnaldum, completely different guy, but given what you're getting out of like James Milner and Curtis Jones and Mr. Morton.
Well, that's a very low bar.
Yeah, well, they need something. That's what I'm saying. It's their main need. I think it'd be good out there. He can ping balls if you need him to. You don't really need him to, but he definitely provides some stability there. I think it'd be good for him.
Yeah, and then one final thing I would say, someone to push Mane.
Mane and Firmino for the number 3 attacking role, kind of. I mean, Jota's really just Firmino replacement already, but, you know, I get what you're saying. Another winger.
Sign Mo Salah to a contract extension.
What about Minamino? He's not replacing Mane anytime soon?
Believe it or not, this guy's garbage. He was garbage at Southampton. Somehow he ended up at Liverpool. Not sure how.
You know, when you're popping off with Erling Haaland, you know.
Yeah, he carries you to a nice payday.
Yes. Next team, your team, Arsenal. Needs, solutions, you know them. The attack has been fantastic. No more Herschel ball. Not really the most consistency from a number 9, but they haven't needed. The defense so far has held up for the most part. Not really high in terms of tackle attempts, to say the least, but very efficient still. So the midfield isn't really a place you'd be looking at. But most shots allowed due to defensive error, you know. So what are we thinking here?
Yeah, definitely a key area for Arsenal is the midfield. Very thin on midfielders. Yeah. Currently, Arsenal has like 0 midfielders. Maybe one.
Thomas Partey.
Lukonga. Well, Thomas Partey.
Oh, you're talking about
at the Cup of Nations.
You're talking about literally right now.
Literally right now.
Yeah.
Going into the North London derby, they have like one midfielder. Granit Xhaka needs to be replaced. He's way too error prone. He deserves to be with the Mustafis and the David Luiz's, a.k.a. off of the team. So that's huge that you bring in a world-class midfielder, and then you have to look forward. Next season, probably no Lacazette because he'll be out of contract. Doesn't want a 1-year contract extension. Aubameyang is out of the team. So, you know, that's an area that will need to be reinforced, you know, potentially with multiple guys.
Yeah. My main note on Arsenal right now is it doesn't matter who you're bringing in, but whoever it is, they have to complement Emile Smith-Rowe, Saka, and Odegaard.
Yeah.
Like, in some way, you just build around those 3 and form other guys to fit around them. Yeah, I had mine as midfield depth, too. Even though it hasn't been like it hasn't totally killed them this year, you're going to need to freshen up. You already have a young squad, and like the oldest component of your team is definitely the midfield compared to attack, compared to defense. So they have to be looking at that. Just as an attacking 9 option for a potential replacement, I got guys, and I want you to rank them. And just keep in mind, for any suggestions I'm doing for these teams, I'm only using Premier League players. Mm-hmm. I can sit here and tell you about Vlahovic and stuff like that. It's like, this is a Premier League podcast, so we're not...
Yes.
Okay. Calvert-Lewin, Mr. Tony, Mr. Dennis, Mr. Bamford.
I would say probably Ivan Toney, number 1. Very close with Calvert-Lewin. My issue with Calvert-Lewin is that he has been hurt, like literally the whole season.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go and pay like $70 million because, you know, Everton are going to ask for a lot.
Yes.
That's my big concern. Mm-hmm. Overall, I think he's, you know, has more Premier League experience than Ivan Toney, and you like it.
Yes.
In that regards. If he were more dependable, I would rank him number 1, but I'll rank him number 2. And then number 3, I would say Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
I like his qualities. Yes. I like the fact that he can just kind of be like a one-man machine. And then I would say Bamford, dependability. He had 1 good season in the Premier League, which I don't really feel confident enough to... I mean, maybe as a backup, I'd be fine with that, but not as...
I don't think you'd be able to pay for that, for him to be a backup.
Yeah, probably not.
I had... Number 1, I had Dennis, just because of the versatility and utility. It feels like Arsenal's incorporating it too in terms of modern football, in terms of guys being so versatile, being able to move around, high work rate, all that stuff. And Dennis can definitely do that. So I had him at number 1.
And he'd probably be the cheapest as well.
I feel like
If Watford
Tony
go down.
might. Oh yeah, I mean if they go down, it's 25, maybe 30 mil.
Yeah.
They're lucky. I'd still say Tony's probably around that as well. Let's move on. Newcastle needs and solutions.
All right. Well, Newcastle needs everything because they're pretty god awful. Their best player,
Saint
Maximin, and then their second best player, Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson's out for a while. Yeah, they brought in Chris Wood.
Yeah. I mean, Newcastle. Fast on the ball with St. Maximin. Wilson, good. Struggled to get it to him. Worst goalkeepers in the Premier League this year by a mile. Lowest amount of passes completed into the box. They're good at dribbling, and I mean, that's just St. Maximin. So, and really, dribbling is the only way that creates a ton of shots for them. Not goals, but a ton of shots. Average as far as midfield tackles and interceptions, which I was surprised to see. I get they sit back and stuff, but I don't care much for their midfield, believe it or not.
No. Their midfield and defense is quite poor.
In terms of, I was gonna say in terms of like touches and possession and whatnot, obviously near the bottom. Most goals conceded off of live ball passing sequences and rebound shots. So their defense is shit. Yeah, I mean, and they're last in loose ball recoveries. I mean, if you're actually going to spend Basuma, McGinn, or Doucouré, one of those three has to be bought.
Yeah.
Like, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going to spend, I don't think there's a suitable Premier League player that fits in there as far as like a 6 or an 8. For cheap, like if they're not going to spend that much. Because think about how many teams are above them. Why are they selling to... Like, Brentford's not going to sell Norgard to
that's
Newcastle.
what I was thinking. Norgard was
Like,
my first, and
but
they're
that's-
not going to sell him.
And I think another big play, if they do go big, as far as center backs, like Connor Cody would be really good for them.
Tarkowski.
He might be in the small category now. For small, I had Jop, which I don't think West Ham would do it this window. Maybe a loan for Joe Rodin.
Yeah, that'd be decent.
And then I like the one you're saying with Tarkovsky too, even. Secondary options, because there's just so many. They have to get a goalie of some sort. This is just terrible. A 10,
Burnley, no?
ideally. Eventually get a 10, please.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just have it all be St. Maximin out wide.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts for their, like, I guess, main needs or targets? Or
Yeah, I look
if you
at
had to
it
pick
kind of
one.
like you look at Aston Villa where they didn't have a plan. I think of this kind of as the opposite, where right now just bring in as many quality players as you can. Like, don't worry
Yes.
about whether they fit or not. You just need quality, like
Yeah.
everywhere. Get
Like,
as
I
many
think
guys
they-
as you can in.
I think they got it with Trippier. Although, I don't know. I do have a sneaking suspicion that, like, Trippier could come back and not be that great.
Yeah,
Chris Wood's fine, I guess. Not
for,
ideal,
not
but
for 25 million pounds.
yeah. Wasn't it 20?
Either
still,
way, it's too much.
Yeah,
the way he's been
for a
playing.
guy who has, 3 or 4 goals on the year?
Yeah.
And normally only scores 10 or 11, so.
Mm-hmm.
But they need something because Callum Wilson's out for a while.
Yeah.
Who else would they have out there? So, Joe Linton, even though he's more of a winger now.
He's
Defensive
been, he's
mid.
been coming into his own.
Defensive mid, Joe Linton.
Yeah, high work rate.
So if you had to pick one, just anywhere on the field, where would it be for Newcastle? Where would you start? I think it has to be midfield or a 6, or not a 6, center back.
Yeah, I would say like a really good midfielder. But even then, I mean,
Because they're still going to play on the counter more than likely because they still have big gaps. I think I talked myself into it. It has to be a center back. Having like a leader at the center back position to organize people and stuff would be very nice.
But I think that their issue has been really scoring goals this season,
Too, but
especially
true,
when they
but
don't
they're-
have Callum Wilson.
Well, that's why you got Chris Wood, baby.
Chris Wood, baby.
Next category, goals and targets to finish the year and how they're going to finish. We're going to start off here. Actually, no. We have one more team for needs and solutions. We have Wolves.
Hank almost forgot Wolves.
I would never. Wolves play style, creative wide play, near the top of dribbling, even with lesser usage of Traore. They don't create a ton of shots, and they don't create a ton of goals, but they do force a ton of defensive errors, and they definitely can tackle the ball very well, and they're a top-tier passing side. Excellent keeping out of Jose Sa. I was wrong on that. I'll say it. Jose Sa is good. And then just one of the best defenses in the Premier League. I think we talked about that last pod.
Yes. Like second fewest goals conceded.
I think a lot of what they have to do determines if they want to keep using Jimenez as that false 9 or a 10, or if they want to actually get him back to being a 9. Because if they're going to use him as like a 10 or a false 9, then maybe bring in another striker. But if you're going to use him as a striker, then bring in a 10, right?
Yes.
So it kind of depends a little on that. Sell Traore to gain a ton of money. And by a ton, anything's a ton for that guy. So
yeah. And anyways, I mean, obviously we know that's where they need to improve is the goal scoring area. And you look at their squad, they really kind of have to move Traore to bring in another player because they're just kind of like...
They're not going to spend big time. They already spent a little bit.
They have quite a few attacking players as well.
Yeah.
So I think you just got to chip out Traore, make some space, bring in someone new.
I'd say over the summer, look for another midfielder. You can kind of rotate him with Montinho. Since Montinho's older, that'll definitely be something they want to look at. I don't know. If they sold Traore and they just like waited until, the summer, they could do a loan maybe for like Iosi Perez or Bertrand Traore. Maybe not Traore now that El Ghazi's gone, but other championships options. Bertrand Diaz, maybe if they want to just go with the out-and-out striker. I don't know. I think their best bet is if Newcastle or Watford go down and they can push for Dennis or ASM somehow.
Yeah.
Is their best plan. Anything else you want to say about Wolves before we move on?
Score goals.
That's not possible. Goals and targets to finish the year. Now we're to Watford.
I mean, this one's got to be clear.
Yeah.
The goals to stay up. Will it happen? Probably not.
Yeah.
They're pretty bad.
They've already brought in a few guys. Hassan Kamara, left back from Nice, kind of plays more as a wing back too. So in a way that kind of makes sense if they're just going to use him to plug up the midfield again. Signed Samir, a center back from Udinese. Surely can't be as bad as Troost-Ekong. And then they signed this Kayemba guy from Belgium. Plays as a 6. So there's that.
Yeah, who knows?
You're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks if you're Watford. Second worst passing team. Easiest to press against. Their top 5 dribbling team. Bottom 5 defense. Solid signings might give them a chance to stay up, but can they do it? What do they need?
They need more consistent possession and goal scoring.
Yeah.
There's games where they look like they could be a team that stays up.
I just don't know if the possession matters to them because the passing's just so bad anyways. You're going to give it away and your defense is terrible.
That's true. They just really lack the quality in the midfield.
I think the goal obviously is to stay up. As far as the target, I mean, if they catch the right run of form, they've had stretches this year. I think probably their best stretch, they had like 3 or 4 good games in a row. Just asking a lot out of them. They could finish like maybe as high as like 15 or 16, but they're just hoping for 17. At this point, where are they going to finish, Sam?
I'm going to say 18.
Yeah, I think they just missed the cut. I think Newcastle somehow stay up, or Burnley. Leeds, goals, targets to finish the year. I definitely want to just say they got to incorporate our guy Joe Gelhart.
Absolutely.
More attack, more youth for sure.
Yeah, I agree. They have some talented youth players. Just kind of getting a flow going. It seems like they really haven't had one because they're just always dealing with injuries and stuff.
Yes.
And to be fair, that's kind of their own doing by having a pretty thin squad to start the season with anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But you would like to see him go on a run like last season, pick up some good results, string them together, build for next season.
Yeah. Leads this year, amount of shots per game, top 5, second worst in terms of shot on target percentage. Why not play Joe Gelhart? I mean, he's not like a straight up striker, but he'll at least increase your chance of scoring, I feel like.
Yeah, anytime the ball gets near him, he is just absolutely trying his best to get on the ball, to score goals.
And even when they do get on it, third worst at goals per shot on target. Like, their shots are just, even when they're on net, they still stink.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just, the over-reliance on Rafinha, too, that's not Leeds style to just rely on one guy to create
Right.
all this. And their defense, we know it's never great, but it's so bad right now.
It's
This is a Badham. It's a Badham 5. This is a Badham 5 defense we're talking about here, folks. Yeah, I mean, I guess a small goal would be to stay up, but at the same time, I feel like they can do that. I would say push for... No, there's no way they could get to top half. Get to the top of the bottom half. Get to 10. That's your best, like the highest they can go. Right now, that is 6 points off. That's not
It's not
incredible.
impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'd say more.
they'll probably finish around 14th, I would
was
say,
thinking 14.
but I'm saying that's a goal to shoot for.
Yeah.
Leicester. I don't know what to say about Leicester.
I don't know what to say about Leicester either.
That's why I put them in here.
What a strange team.
Near the top on most shot stats, but they're bottom 3 in terms of passes that enter final third and in the box. They're bottom 5 in shot creating actions. How does that even I don't get this team. Last in completed crosses and crosses attempted. It's like, are they just taking shots from like distance? They're just popping shots. Like, I don't know what their attack is this year. You knew what it was in the past. It was ideally the counter.
Right, and the issue is they have such good attacking players too.
Yeah.
They're just underperforming like so badly. And
they're near the top in defensive actions that create a goal. So when their defense is fine, it can allow them to spark it. But at the same time, it's like their defense normally sucks and they're not looking to counter as much. I just don't like the way they've played this year in terms of style. I thought Brendan Rodgers might be one of the worst managers so far this year in terms of the squad that he has.
Yes.
And what he's done with it.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. Yeah, he's definitely underperformed with that squad. And it looks like things aren't going to get any better because they may be losing Tielemans, who's been a pretty important piece.
Yeah. I would say their only real chance is to push for 7th and try and get their Europa Conference League spot. I don't see any other like major target they can have.
The good thing for Leicester right now is that people have no expectations for them anymore. They've disappointed everyone.
Yes.
And now they're kind of like in a better position where they don't have as much pressure on them. And I think they could possibly excel with that kind of mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Goals and targets to finish the year. Chelsea.
Oh, boy, Chelsea. It started so good.
And then it just collapsed. The team that looked the most solid, no longer the most solid.
Turns out the foundation was just made out of
Kovacic
and
one Croatian guy and
a couple bottles of peri-peri sauce.
that you got out wide on Chilwell and Reece James.
Some Mars bars.
Oof.
Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
It's, yeah, I mean, it definitely has to be top 3 for sure. I think that they'll still push for the title, but I think it's just too far gone. So I think, bare minimum top 3, push for the title. I think their main target might be one of the domestic cups / the Champions League again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the title is out of reach. Definitely have a chance at finishing second. Finishing outside of the top 3 would be a complete failure.
Yeah.
Incredibly disappointing.
Absolute
Only curable by
catastrophe.
winning the Champions League again.
Pretty much.
Winning one of the other cups and finishing third, not the worst.
Not ideal.
But
Hashtag not ideal.
But you want to be doing better.
Yes.
Super disappointing in terms of Lukaku and that whole.
Yeah, now he's playing all the games.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he gets it going, but I don't know how they even manage. Chelsea with 9s. What's like a worse combo?
It's cursed.
It is forever cursed. Even like Torres had moments where he was good. Like he always came through in the big scenarios, but like just what you need out of a 9, not what you want.
He was cursed.
Not what you want.
Yeah, I
so
mean,
they can take a top 3 striker in the world and turn him to poop.
Yeah, even with Lukaku playing, like you say, he's not really performing. And then you just have, issues with injuries, Chilwell out and relying on Kovacic. Midfield can be pretty suspect.
It feels like it's either too attack-minded or too defensive. Mm-hmm. And they need to find a balance between that in terms of whether it's Kovacic and Conte or Kovacic and Mount or however they're going to do it. They need to find more of a balance. They don't really have that right now. And I don't know. There's just a bunch of guys where it's like, I mean, they're depth pieces, but at the same time, like they haven't even been reliable like at all. Really, I'm looking at Pulisic.
Right. I was thinking the same thing.
Ziyech has had slightly better moments than Pulisic, but he hasn't been like amazing. So I don't know.
Yeah, you just have some of these guys that are kind of like floating around the team, but not really making a case for being like a nailed-on starter.
Yeah, the only guy you got really is Mount, Mendy. Actually, now it's Kepa. With the clean sheet at Tottenham. So, moving on, last team in this category, goals and targets to finish the year, Brighton Hove Albion. Sam, would you have come in this year thinking that they could be in play for a Europa League spot or, well, I guess more Europa Conference League spot?
Probably not. Would it be the most surprising thing?
No.
Also, probably not. In terms of goals and targets, I'd like to see Brighton finish off the year like they started. Continue on with the solid attack that we've seen in the past couple of weeks. Definitely got to be scoring goals. I mean, you can't have that stretch.
You can't rely on Maupay in the 90 plus 6th. Like, you can't just do that.
Stop
doing that. It's not healthy.
Not the best strategy.
It's not healthy in terms of your stress
strategy.
level.
Yeah, that's pretty bad when you're relying on Neil Maupay.
Yeah, lately I like how they haven't been like super relying on Trossard. Just, relying on him as much as they should.
Yeah, I think
because for a while there it was like, here's Trossard, he's our best guy, and that's really all we have right now.
I think of Brighton kind of similar to Arsenal, the way they go about attacking, how it's kind of like you have kind of a group of players that you want to rely upon. And you look at Brighton and you say, like, okay, Trossard, definitely number one. Maybe McAllister.
And Mwepu at times. They have different guys.
Maybe you get a couple goals out of Maupay, and then, hoping that Cucurella is providing some service. And, maybe Gross.
Yeah.
And you kind of want this system where it's not just one guy, but you need some guys to step up other than Trossard for that to work out.
Yeah, and they kind of got it lately. But yeah, I think the goal definitely has to be 7th. I think what they have right now is already kind of got them. Like, if they were in the grades category, I'd already give them... I'd probably say an A- just because there's room to kind of slip down. But I'd say A-. I mean, this has been a really good year for them.
I'd say B+.
Wow.
Just because they had that streak of like 10 or so games that was pretty poor.
Yeah. They're still hanging in there. Last category, futures. We got a few teams I want to talk about their futures right now, Sam.
Yes.
We're going to start Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace. I like this selection. I'm looking at the teams here, and I quite like these.
Yeah, I was left with these teams, and I was like, what exactly am I going to talk about these teams with? Because I had the first 15 all sorted, and then I was like, leaves these teams.
Mm-hmm.
There was one team I forgot, if I have to admit, and I feel bad. I feel bad. Can you
Don't
guess
tell
what
me
team
it was Everton.
I thought I assigned them to one earlier.
Fifth category, Everton.
Yes.
What is Everton? I don't know.
This is a separate pod. This is on the Patreon, the Everton
Yeah.
stuff.
First team, Crystal Palace. I like that you picked them for a specific reason because we've seen the revitalization of Crystal Palace, the youth movement, bringing in some great talent like Conor Gallagher, Elise, Edouard, Anderson, Gahey. Plenty of young talent in that squad.
Yes.
Looking forward, there are still some areas of the club where you see the remnants of Crystal Palace
Yep.
past the Roy Hodgson era. Guys like Benteke and Milivojevic, maybe even Joel Ward. He's been decent this season. But these older guys that you're going to want to be looking to move out and improve on,
Yep.
especially like Benteke.
What do you mean?
Way too much usage out
I've
of
lied
that guy.
this whole time, and I haven't watched any Palace this year. What's wrong with him?
I think they could upgrade on Guaita. Midfield, I think they could use some more depth just in general.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I wanted to talk about with this is, given their play style and stuff, fifth in midfield touches, which is honestly incredible for Palace. Sixth in touches in opponent's box. What this leads to is Conor Gallagher. What are they going to do after this year when he's gone?
Yeah, that's going to be a big concern. How do you replace Conor Gallagher? I'm not sure.
I don't know if you can. I don't know how that is, but I don't know if you can. He's been so immense for them in winning the ball, bringing it forward, distributing it to, I guess, Wolf is kind of a distributor too, but trying to get Benteke to put the ball in net and Mr. Ayew. But yeah, I'm a little worried about that.
Mm-hmm.
I have faith, given what they did last year, that they'll know that they can cycle out the old guys. I'm just, for future, a little worried about the replacement of Gallagher.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's going to be like the $1 million question.
Yeah.
How do you replace him? And, maybe it's bringing in a couple guys or trying to maybe get him on loan for another year.
Yeah, somehow.
Probably not, but you never know with Chelsea. They kind of do weird stuff.
Yes. The next team, or did you have anything you want to say about them?
No,
I would just say in
that's-
general about them, we loved what they did in the summer, and it's
Yes.
worked out well. Their defense, not amazing right now. Still young in terms of the center back pairing. That'll improve. I like the Guaita. He's fine, I guess. I mean, they
Fine
paid
for
like
now.
they paid like nothing for him.
Yeah.
So, but eventually bring in a new guy, probably Jack Butland.
Wayne Hennessy,
Wayne, bring him back.
Fraser
H-Rock.
Forster, Willie Caballero, Alex McCarthy.
But no, I like what Palace are doing going forward. And a couple other guys have shown flashes in terms of like Mateta. Etse's kind of been hurt for a good portion of the year, but they have a bunch of young guys, so I like what they're doing. United.
That's another $1 million question. More like $1 billion question. Where do United go from here? I'm not sure. Okay, I'll say this. I'm not sure Ranić is the guy to lead United. Not because of his skill set or how he wants the team to play.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. I think the issue is that the players aren't buying into his setup.
Yeah.
I think you need to find a manager that can sort out all these personal issues that are within the squad. There's some rebuilding that needs to be done. House that needs to be cleaned.
Yeah.
Guys like Pogba.
Yeah, I think that United's main thing, or first and foremost, is finding a manager that can utilize what United, I would assume, think are their main guys. How are they going to utilize Sancho? If they still think Rashford is a big piece for them, how is he going to use Rashford? Not even talking about Bruno or Ronaldo yet, because those guys, at least, I guess could be slightly flexible. Probably not Ronaldo nearly as much, but you need to find guys that, or a manager that fits with those guys. It's kind of like, anytime you're building a certain culture, you have to find a manager that works with the personnel around them. You're seeing it with Arsenal now. Mm-hmm. Even if the manager doesn't do great right away for United, if there's still some results and you can see the silver lining, okay.
Yeah, and you see that there's a plan in place.
Yeah, then you just have to stick with it. And I think the main thing, like I was saying, they got to get a guy who's going to utilize the younger United players. And as far as guys like Maguire and stuff, like, shit or get off the pot, dude. Either you're world class or you're not. Like, what are you doing? You can't be messing up this much and playing this poorly. Like, we talked about how we think Varane is kind of, toasted a little bit. United are third in shots conceded off dead balls and first in shots conceded off dribbles. Like, that's clearly their defense is just not good right now. I would say this year their best defender might be between, like, somehow Lindelof and, like, Alex Tejas.
Yeah.
That's not where you want to be.
There is also the issue that your midfield is so poor and they're offering, like, no support whatsoever.
Yeah, it doesn't help, but I just... Yeah, not to mention whoever you're bringing in has to figure out that midfield. Good God. I don't think they have the right answers there. I think McTominay can be a depth piece for United, assuming United want to get back to winning titles. I think he could be like a third choice or something, but Fred's not good enough. Sell him whatever you can. Donny van de Beek, clearly you're just never going to incorporate him correctly. Sell him. There's so many guys they can offload.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. They really need to bring in some high-level midfielders before things will turn around. High work rate to cover for the attacking play.
If you had to pick before we move on, or were you going to say anything else about United?
No, go.
I was just going to say, if you had to pick one manager to come in from the Premier League, if you were United, who would it be?
Yeah, I was trying to think.
Because I feel like most teams, especially big teams, it'd be Graham Potter, but I don't think Graham Potter would be right for United.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, yeah, the number one choice for me is obviously David Moyes, but that's not happening again. We tried that once. And then you look at Graham Potter, and I agree.
It doesn't work. It's not going to mesh.
I don't know how I feel with him, with all these big egos. I don't really think that's kind of like Graham Potter style.
I'm just thinking, like, I don't think he would be best suited to figure out Sancho and Rashford, too.
No, yeah.
That just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a manager, is the thing. I think it has to be someone from outside. Who that is it Poch? Who knows? I feel like that'd probably be your best bet. The fact that Brendan Rodgers was even thrown around was obscene this year after what he's done at Leicester, crapping all over the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, Man City, futures. We got to talk about the future. Selling Fernan Torres after he looked so good. Why would they do that?
Well, I think it had to do with Pep's relationship with Barcelona. I think he was more willing to sell Torres because he wanted to go to Barcelona, and Pep has that connection to Barcelona.
He was so good for them in terms of being like one of their main attackers when he played. does it feel like they have so much talent right now? It'd be hard to get him in there mixed with who else are you going to sell in terms of like no one's going to take Sterling.
Yeah.
So it's like if we have to offload, it unfortunately has to be Torres, even though he's a really good player.
Yeah, I mean, there's also something to be said when a player wants to leave. You know, holding them against their will isn't usually a very good idea. You look at Harry Kane. And
what went wrong with him?
He is a ghost.
What went wrong? I don't know.
A ghost of Kane's past.
Yeah, and then I want to talk about as far as a 9. Do they go for a 9? Do they just stick with what they have? I just feel like you can rotate guys in the middle of the park that are a little further forward than the rest of the midfield, but aren't really a 9, and it works. I mean, Foden's kind of like on the wing, so it's mainly De Bruyne, but they'll rotate him in sometimes.
I mean, there is the potential of Holland coming in.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know how I feel about that either.
I just don't. He's so good at, and we don't want to really talk about it because it's not Premier League related, but I don't know. With the way City's set up, it's not best suited for him.
Yeah.
He can still be really good, but that's not where he's best.
Right.
So I don't know who
he's
would be.
He's better suited for Arsenal. I know.
He's first off, he's going to Norwich in the Championship.
He's actually a Leeds fan.
Is there even a 9 that you could see rotated in for them? Maybe.
The thing is, though, like they could bring in someone who's not necessarily like a top striker. You know, someone who's just kind of like decent.
Wilfred Boney.
And yes, Wilfred Boney scores some goals for Swansea.
Is Benteke going to City?
Yeah, for sure. Man, I'm trying to think of
Mr. Rondo.
of an example of.
Are you talking more like? Are you talking not like Danny Ings, but like I guess that's a little warmer.
Maybe
not really.
Maybe like
Calvert-Lewin, but you're not playing him all the time.
Calvert-Lewin, or Ollie Watkins.
See, I think it'd be more realistic for like I guess Liverpool is the first team for this, is what I was thinking of, because he could kind of be like a Mane / he rotates with Jota guy, but Bowen, if he keeps playing like this, I think I could see him on the City side. But mainly, he'd probably be better suited for Liverpool. I don't know who they could get.
Yeah, Jared
City.
Bowen would be pretty good for Liverpool. That's a good one.
I just don't know who for City. There's like no fit.
I think Calvert-Lewin would be all right.
Yeah, that's about your best bet. But in terms of finding a guy where it's like he'd be first choice in there, there's just not a guy, I don't think.
Yeah. Patrick Schick.
This is a Premier League podcast. You get your Bundesliga Czech strikers out of my face. Norwich. Future
for them is in the Championship.
I like the Irish guy they've been playing.
Ida.
He looks pretty decent.
Yeah, he looked decent.
He's like a fresh breath air.
He looked like he is...
Breath of fresh air.
He looks like he might be good in the Championship. He's not quite at the Premier League level, but
definitely not.
You see the potential in him.
Yes. He at least has the ability to create his own shot and kind of do stuff for himself, where it's like Pukki can't, and you don't really have service for Pukki, so it's like, what exactly is he doing out there?
Right.
So it makes more sense for them, especially since he's younger, end of the year, just throw that guy out there and hope for the best. But
yeah, I agree.
I don't even know in terms of like, I feel like there's going to be so many guys that are on their team right now that are gone next year, whether they're loaned out or permanently sold. But like, I look at midfield, especially guys like Norman and Lees Malou and stuff. It's like, how many of those guys are they actually going to keep for like their championship run?
Yeah, and then you have your loan players like Bill Gilmore and Brandon Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention Tim Krul. He's getting sold. He's getting sold to Newcastle. He's going back.
You never know.
Everton,
their future is up in flames because they are like the biggest dumpster fire of a club. For some reason, I mean, it went
nothing
up,
can go right.
It's going about as good as you would expect when you hire the manager of your rivals, who managed your rivals in the past. It's like,
But started so well.
and you can just see all the bridges that are being burnt, specifically with Digne.
I just hate when teams spend like madmen and then they don't bring in enough quality players to have anything to show. And then they're like, well, we spent. It's like, yeah, you did. And you bought shit. So it's like, obviously your fan base is going to expect you to spend a little more.
Yeah.
So if they're not going to spend, and it's going to be like this past summer they brought in Gray and Townsend, I mean, I guess that's better than spending a ton on what they brought in: Digne, Gylfi, Davy Clausen, the guy from Mainz. Like, they've brought in so many just guys that like are never going to work out, not be part of the future. The only main guys were Richarlison. They paid 50 mil for him.
Yeah.
Who's paying 50 mil for Richarlison? I mean, I just don't like the way they're run. As far as a manager goes, because Rafa's sure as shit not going to be there next year if they have any brains.
Yeah. He shouldn't be there now. I don't know
Is
why
there-
he's there.
Is there a guy that you would like to see at Everton for a rebuild? And I would say Grandpa. I don't think Graham Potter go there. That's not a big enough club.
God, no. That's a step down at this point. Let's see. Who would I pick to take over Everton?
I mean, he just got an extension, but I was thinking Dyche. Maybe Dean Smith if Norwich actually fired him for some reason.
Yeah, maybe Dean Smith. I don't.
Maybe.
Dyche.
Dare I say, Big Sam.
Big Sam V2.
Bring him back.
Bring him back. Bring him back. Gosh, who else would?
Neil Warnock out of retirement. It's like 80. Chris Hughton. All the best.
I need.
Go to Transfer Market and look up available
I just need
managers.
to look at teams.
Ranieri.
Right. Yeah.
After he gets sacked
I
eventually.
mean, Hasenhüttl.
No, I would stick with Southampton. And they don't even spend either. At least they have young guys there.
Other than that, man, there's really
Tim Sherwood.
Tim Sherwood. There's really no one.
The Nevilles.
The Nevilles.
The
tag team.
Valencia experience in Everton.
Valencia and Inter Miami.
Oh my gosh.
Bring in Ryan Shawcross out of retirement.
Yeah, their first thing they have to do eventually will get it squared away in terms of a manager. But I had random notes I want to talk about, but before I do that, here's my 2 points on Everton. They have the least amount of corners this year, and they have the most passes out of bounds. So they got that going for them. Here's a couple of just random statistical things I found. I was looking up. I'll just rattle them off. Wolves have used the least amount of players this year. They've used 18 guys. That's like considerably lower than like everyone. Best goalies are David De Gea and Jose Sa by far. Villa lead in fouls drawn without Jack Grealish. Kind of funny. The goals per 90 leader right now, do you have any guess who it is? It is one of your favorite players.
Benteke.
No, like an actual fucking player. An actual player. It's Cornet.
Oh, okay.
Non-penalty expected goals per 90. The top 6 includes Gundogan, Sterling, and Benteke. Goals per shot ratio, the 2 best guys, Chan and then Wisa. Jared Bowen second in goal creating actions. Basuma tackle percent of dribblers is over 80%.
Wow.
Insanity. Tied for the lead in interceptions is Declan Rice and Livramento.
Joao.
Plus minus per 90 leader, Gundogan, as I said, most important guy on that team. Number 1 most used substitute.
I feel like I'll know once you say it.
It's Mati Vidra.
Oh, I
Yeah,
wouldn't have said that.
no one would have said that. Let's see. Oh, I was going to say why I gave up on expected goals, like for sure. I was never high on it, and now I'm really out on it. Wolves and Southampton are not the worst at goals minus their expected goals. Southampton have had like 12 tap-ins missed compared to what they actually have, but their expected goals are like somehow lower than their actual goals. That's a fake stat. That is now a fake stat. Southampton with the missed.
I'm over here like the Matrix numbers are like flying across the screen, and I have no clue what's going on. The Hangover.
Worst defenses in terms of if you're going just off shots they allow. Burnley, Newcastle, Leicester, Leeds, Watford. Worst goals in terms of like goal actions per 90. Newcastle, Norwich, Leeds, Watford, Everton. Everton have one of the worst defenses, and they just sit back. Let's see here. There's a couple more. Oh, just this one. Loose balls recovered. Liverpool, Brentford, Chelsea, Southampton, West Ham. I was very surprised to see Brentford and Southampton on there.
I'd say more surprising Southampton.
Well, Oriol Romeo is just a god out here, so.
Yeah.
All right. You want to run over the transfers that have been done so far real quick, rapid fire?
Yes. So these are officially confirmed?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Aston Villa, Coutinho, and Digne. Very nice. Brentford, Yunus Lussel. I like that. Brighton.
Kasper Kozlowski, who immediately got loaned back out, so we won't see him for a while.
Is he a goalkeeper?
He's a midfielder. He's like an 8.
Okay. Never mind. I'm thinking someone else. Everton, El Ghazi, Nathan Patterson, and
Vitaly Mikolenko. So they brought in 2 fullbacks and then El Ghazi. So
very strange.
I guess Everton, if you say so.
I like the Nathan Patterson move.
Yeah. You like a good Scottish guy.
Scottish fullbacks.
Yeah.
Nah, I like all Scottish people. You're great. You're great. Leeds, Mateo Josef Fernandez from Espanyol.
Yeah.
Going to the under-23s. Newcastle, Trippier, and Chris Wood.
Chris Wood.
Chris Wood. Southampton, Will Caballero. I don't know. He's been on the team. Okay,
no, he extended.
That's nice.
His contract was somehow supposed to expire in January, and they extended him. So I had to put that on there.
Watford, you already went through those guys.
Yep.
No one knows them anyways.
Yeah.
And then Wolves.
They got a Japanese guy from Switzerland.
Hayao Koebe.
From Grasshoppers.
Arigato.
So.
Arigato, Grasshopper-san.
Not many big ones yet, except for Newcastle. So, and I'm sure Newcastle have 1 or 2 more.
Yeah. Some rumblings over at Arsenal.
About what?
Vlahovic.
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
I thought you were talking about Balogun getting loaned out.
Yes, that too. Up the bureau. Yeah. And Ketia possibly leaving. Other than that, big moves, usually pretty sparse.
In the winter window. Per usual.
Yeah. So we'll be keeping an eye on it. We'll let you know.
Nothing
anything
crazy
happens. And yeah, I mean, other than that, we'll see you next week for
predictions.
Another episode. But before we leave, we got more predictions.
We have predictions for this week. Brighton at Palace at the Amex on Friday. What are you looking for in this one?
I think this one will be a 2-2 draw. I think it should be a good contest.
Yeah, I would say, Palace, not really counterattack. They have more just fast build-up in general. But if they're able to get through Brighton's midfield and defense, it'll be interesting to see. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. City, Chelsea.
It's a big one.
Etihad could seal the title. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, we'll see how Chelsea come out. I mean, game against Liverpool, came back from 2-0 down. Man City might not be so forgiving. I would say Man City 3-1.
I'm going to go with Chelsea drawing City 1-1. I like the way Chelsea played Tottenham these past 2 weeks in the Carabao Cup. Burnley, Leicester, Turf Moor. I would expect, if this is played, which it should be, Mr. Maddison is going to have a very big game for Leicester in that midfield. I'll go 2-0 Leicester, especially since Burnley only have Cornet up front now, no Chris Wood.
I'm going to say 4-0. This is the start of Burnley just absolutely tail spin into the ground.
Watford, Newcastle at St. James Park, 6-pointer, served up on a platter. What are we looking for in this one, Sam?
Well, we got to see those new guys in action, Chris Wood and Kieran Trippier. I think they'll probably have a pretty good instant impact. I would say Newcastle wins this one 2-0.
I'm going Watford 2-1.
Oh,
I like their ability to go at Newcastle's crap defense. Norwich, Everton. This is a disgusting game. Carrow Road.
I pity the fool who watches this game.
So us. I guess if I'm looking for something, Everton might be able to kind of sit back and let Norwich try and do their thing.
Get El Ghazi in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Get,
I'm gonna go with a draw here. I'm gonna go 0-0.
I'm gonna say 1-0 Everton. El Ghazi.
I really sneaky kind of want to pick Norwich in that one, but I'm not going to. Wolves, Southampton, the Molineux. I will be thoroughly enjoying this game.
Yeah, should be a good one.
What are you looking at in this?
Wolves have a tough defense. Southampton have been scoring more goals lately. I think Wolves' defense is better than Southampton's offense. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw.
That's exactly what I was going to go with. Villa, Man U at Villa Park.
I favor Villa in this one. What can you say?
I don't feel good saying that, but it might be true.
I think that's just the fact of the matter,
Yeah, I don't know. Villa's attack at times is just not what I want, but Man U's defense is so exposed because they're not good and there's no midfield.
And
John McGinn might just be running around with the ball in midfield the whole game. That might just happen.
They all hate each other too.
Yeah. I'm going to go with a draw, 1-1.
2-1 Villa.
Liverpool, Brentford, Anfield. No Mo Salah, but Brentford, you should still pucker your buttholes because you have not been playing very well.
Yeah, if they play like their last game against Southampton, it could get ugly.
I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool.
I'm going to say 3-0 Liverpool.
West Ham, Leeds, London Stadium. Before the year, you would have thought, oh, great game. We'll see. It could still be a good game because sometimes West Ham slip up, but I'm going to go with a good old 4-1 for West Ham. I just like their attack versus Leeds' defense. Although, Leeds shouldn't leave it as open of a game as they will, but, what are you going to do? Leeds are going to lead.
Yeah, I think 3-1 West Ham.
There it is, North London Derby. Arsenal, Tottenham. The Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Well, first things first, I don't think this game is going to happen. Arsenal is running out of players.
They can go with the Man U 5-5-1, and then have no one else out there.
Or you just pull a Liverpool and make up some fake positives and get your game postponed, even though you have a massive squad. If it does happen, I favor Spurs because Arsenal has no midfield right now. That's very concerning.
Yeah.
Arsenal looked like trash in the FA Cup against Nottingham. I would favor Spurs 2-1.
There's still a lot on the line, and it's a North London derby, so I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. To the makeup games that are yet to be played. Burnley, Watford.
Another 6-pointer for Watford.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot on the line.
I like Watford's chances in this one just because I really don't rate Burnley. And they got worse, so...
Yeah, but maybe that'll help because Chris Wood's not out there and he's actually so ass this year.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm going to go with... I'm actually going to give Burnley a win on that one. We're going to go 1-0.
I'm going to say 1-0 Watford.
Brighton, Chelsea, Amex. It felt like these teams literally played like 3 weeks ago, even though it's probably 5 weeks ago or so. But this one, we'll see about Chelsea coming off that Man City game. They might be looking to put a beat down on Brighton after Brighton did them dirty. Danny Welbeck.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Chelsea 2-0.
I'll say Chelsea 3-0.
Tottenham, Leicester, King Power. What are you looking at here?
Yeah, I think Spurs are favorites in this matchup. Leicester until
proven we can trust their
until
defense a little
proven
bit
we can
and
trust,
attack.
and definitely anytime during the African Cup of Nations where they have like half their players out.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say Spurs 3-1.
Yeah. Yes, Tottenham's going to win that one. Man U, Brentford. This one, Brentford, if you were to ever pull a shock upset, save it for this match because you might have a chance.
This is a trap game.
Gosh, I don't feel great about it, but I'm going to say that it's 1-1 draw.
I'm going to say 2-1 Brentford.
I want to say it, but
Up the bees.
I can't. They're just so stinky. All right. Is there any more predictions that you have for this podcast?
I think that El Ghazi is going to score against Norwich.
Very impressive. Why are all your predictions Everton? The world doesn't need to know the secret. Anything you want to plug? The pod on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube.
Yep.
All right.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter. I'll make sure to add
Go.
the intro on this one.
Go do it, you lovely brutes.
Until next week.
Adios, mis amigos.
Adios.